United States is still a free country in a way. We try to give people the voice to do that with, to go ahead and talk to the people with whatever message you've got. And nobody's saying, hey, look, I don't believe in this, so our ads, our sponsors won't put up with that, so you can't say this, that, or the other thing. Now, All Talk was actually founded on kind of pretty much those ideas that it's a way for anybody to get any kind of information out they needed or wanted to get out, and get it to anybody they needed to get it to, pretty much. I broke it into All Talk by, not All Talk, but DJing by a simple accident. It was kind of like a progression of accidents for me to become and do what I did. I always wanted to do that, but never went in that field. I was building homes, I was working in factories, just doing, everyday stuff that everybody does, just regular jobs. And but I would go out to the clubs at night because I like to listen to certain songs. I just love music and like dancing, of course, and like girls, so that's the place to be. Mm-hmm. So I went out one night, and I know a friend. He owned his own DJ equipment at this place, and but he says, "Well, I got to use the restroom." He's like, I've got this lined up here. When this stops, start this up. Can you handle it? Well, I think I can do that. Now, before he had left, though, he said, just do this, this, and this. Don't use the microphone, because I'd asked him where the mic was. He's like, don't touch the mic. I was like, all right, because he really didn't talk a lot, and I obviously didn't want me to. I started up, and I just turned the mic on, and blah, 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 whatever it was I said, and everybody's like, woohoo, dancing around, still doing their thing. And I was like, I kind of really like this. He said, I asked you not to get on the mic. You just play that. I said, well, you took a while, so he's like, you know what? But he says, I think you've got some talent for this. He goes, I want to hire you. So I was like, woohoo, okay. I started doing some DJing, and I became pretty popular back where I was. After a year or two, everybody pays their dues. And as I was doing that, then a person that came in from a radio station said, wow, we love your voice, so we would actually like to have you go ahead and come on and do radio. Well, he showed up I think it was a week or two later. He says, how come you never came to the station? I'm like, no, I thought you were kidding, I didn't know you. You could have been messing with me for all I know. He put me on the air. He gave me a little quick tester, for the voice on the air and stuff like that. He says, you got great radio voice. We'd like to use you. We'd like to hire you. I'm like, okay. So I go ahead, and at the time, you actually had to fill out an FCC license. So I had to go study Morse code, all this weird stuff that's like, you're way off. I'm like, what ham radio? I'm like, okay, this makes no sense, but hey, I'm going to be a DJ, so I'll do this. After I filled you had to fill this little form out for the FCC, you get a temporary license. So I'm like, okay, showing everybody, my temporary license. And I was so proud of that. But he's like, well, okay, now you're ready to get on the air. I'm like, okay. So he brings me in, 2 hours of training. After 2 hours of training, he says, well, I'm going home. And I'm like looking around but we're the only two here. So quick 2 hour training, he takes off, closes the door up. Now I'm there for the nighttime. He goes, tells me how to lock it up and everything and leave. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like looking around. The first thing I did, because now I'm nervous. He was there, I wasn't so nervous. Now he left. Now all the stuff that I just learned became really foreign real quick again. I'm like, oh, what do? I can't remember. So the first thing I did was hit the wrong switch and knock this off the air. So I hit the wrong switch, knocked the station down for a minute. All sounds were off. I'm like looking, going, oh no, I gotta remember what I did. I'm looking, I hit the switch, back on, okay, we're back playing again. But now we had a bunch of albums there, because it wasn't CDs really at the time. It was albums. They were still doing turntable. And they were all setting off to the side, but then there was these two big boxes down at the bottom. Now the stuff at the top, I'm like going through and looking, like, what do I play next? I didn't recognize any of it. But now in these two boxes down on the floor, I recognize some of that. So I'm looking, next song's coming up. Now I had just been playing like an easy listening song, but I didn't know what next to do. And I'm thinking, I didn't have really any directions on what I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't familiar with formats at the time. I thought DJs played whatever you wanted to play. So I find rock and roll hoochie coo. So I pulled this up, I put it on, and we went from something easy listening to rock and roll, I'm there bouncing my head up and down and everything, and then I went, I think, to like Casey and the Sunshine Band, and it was maybe about like a little while after that. Now I get a call. I pick up the phone. It's the owner of the radio station, and he's kind of telling me, he goes, you are familiar with our format, right? That's not what we do. He said, but you know what? He says, I like what you're doing, so keep it up. So actually, they turned the station's format over from me messing up, and from big band sound to actually doing like 70s and 80s flashback stuff. Yeah, I've got a couple different children back in Pennsylvania, and I've got my two boys here in Vegas that live with me. And it's different, as being a father that's pretty much a single father, which for me I never thought I would be. As a child, you see things totally different, obviously, as to being an adult. And then as to being an adult, you see things totally different from being an adult, because you just have your mindset that something's going to stay one set way, even as an adult. And then all of a sudden you're riding down that road and there's like 20 forks that just pop out of it. And you're like, which way do I go? A lot of times, a lot of people think that, well, okay, this way, if I take this way, this is going to be the proper way, but what about these other ones? Never second guess any of them, because, even if you take that one, you choose this one or this one, they're all leading you in the direction you're going to head anyhow. If it's meant to be, it will truly be. You can't stop it from happening. Just that same road's going to take you to that same destination you're headed to anyhow, or those different roads. It just may be a little bit of a variation to getting there, but you're headed in the same direction you're bound to be. I believe that we're all here for a purpose. I'm still trying to figure out what mine is. Maybe next week I think I'm going to try to figure that part out. But as it stands right now, I'm still going down that road until I get to the end. My biggest thing is I'm looking at the end of the road. Most people look as what is here and now. I'd like to picture myself that second before I move on to that next place, wherever that may be, and look back and say, wow, look at how that road just winded all over the place. That's the part I want to see. I'm not looking forward to death, but we all have got to face it, and I want to look at that road and look down upon it instead of looking up on how do I get there. So for me, family is a big thing, because as you're looking back down that road, I want to see the smiling faces of everybody I loved, everybody that's loved me, and remember all that. And to me, I don't think the best thing you could ever have would be your family there, and remembering a lot of what's happened with you and your family, your life, your friends. And to me, I think that means the most. All right, for me, challenges, the biggest challenge is challenge itself. That's all I got. I'm kidding. No, there's a lot of challenges out there. And actually, when it comes down to actually facing them, I think we all face them in our own separate ways. Every day, the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, even though it may seem mundane, everything you're doing is pretty much a challenge. I've went from motorcycle wrecks to, I had some problems as a kid. I've had rheumatic fever. I've had heart trouble. But we all have something. I don't know anybody that truly does not. Even living a regular everyday life, when you go to work, you come home, feed the kids, or whatever it is you do, that's all a challenge within itself to get completed every day. And I've had a lot of people say that I'm one of the luckiest people they know. I actually go out and the strangest things will happen to me, but somehow it spins back around the other direction on the other side. How? I don't know. I don't plan these things to happen that way. They just do. But challenges like when I had the motorcycle wreck, I really wrecked myself up pretty bad. I wasn't sure that 7 broken ribs on one side, crushed shoulder. I was, but in the long run, I had a helmet on, so good for me. I didn't get my head crushed, that was kind of tough. But I laid in the hospital, and I would have people call me up, but they would say, George, how you doing? I'm like, tons of morphine. They said I sounded like a girl or something. I don't remember some of it, but tons of morphine. And how you doing? I'd be like, well, okay. When you come back to work? When your show's done? I'm like, as soon as I, put myself back together, maybe. But challenges are they're fun. I think fun at times can be, and other times, you just want to choke somebody. But for the most part, challenges they seem to find me in every way, shape, and form. try to push a square peg into a round hole. It does not work. I try telling everybody this all the time. You know, it's never going to work. Live your life, you know, and obviously, you know, 20 years from now, he's lived a good part of his life. You know, I hope it's everything he wanted to be. If not, realize it's the destiny that you were sent to have, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. I'm George James Carson II, and that's my chapter in verse.